Welcome back, third graders. Today we get to start or restart Farmer Boy. I'm so excited to get back to this book. I've missed it a lot, and I figure some of you have as well. So you'll need both this book and your workbook. Please make sure you have both of those books out. Then what I'd like you to do is open in your workbook. We're going to go to chapter 11 where we left off. That is page 30 in your workbook. Please open up to page 30 in your workbook. We're going to start the chapter Springtime. Springtime. Hey, that goes with what's going on right now, doesn't it? All right. I'd like you to look on page 30 in your workbook. I'd like you to take your finger and point to the first word at the top of the page under the reading notes. The word is, can you guess? Harrow. A farm machine with sharp teeth used to break up and level plowed ground, and is also used as a verb to describe the process of preparing the soil for planting. Some of you probably do this at your house, don't you? At your farm. You get the dirt ready, you get everything ready to plant by using this instrument because you have to turn it over and get it all ready. Look at the next word. Oh, that's interesting. It's hyphenated, meaning it has a hyphen in between. The word is dinner horn. Dinner horn. Interesting. It is a simple wind instrument used to call field workers home for a meal. Remember, they didn't have alarm clocks and phones like we have now to set an alarm. So what they would do at lunchtime or dinner time or whatever time they needed them in, they would use this wind instrument, a wind instrument meaning you blow into it, to call workers home so that they would know it's lunchtime. So they'd be working in the fields and they'd hear that sound, then they would know it's time to come home and eat. That's the dinner horn. Look at the third one. It's a phrase. It is seed corn. We hear that a lot in our area, don't we? Kernels of corn used for planting. Corn can be grown for different reasons. I didn't realize that before I moved to Illinois. I just thought corn was corn, but it's definitely used for different. You have seed corn, you have feed corn, which would be, of course, to feed to the animals, and then you have just regular corn. There's probably other types, and I might even be a little off on that. Some of you might know that a little more than I am, but there are different kinds of corn, and the seed corn is used for planting. So they would take those little seeds from the corn and plant them to make more corn, to grow more corn. All right, let's look at the vocabulary section before we read. Number 1 says, the sun was rising beyond the dewy meadow. I like how that sentence sounds. That sounds cool. The dewy meadow. If you look at the word dewy, the root of that, take off the ending, would be dew, D-E-W. That would be like in the mornings when you go out and the grass is wet. That is dew. That's the condensation that has remained on the grass overnight that's formed in the morning. So dewy meadows. It's an adjective describing the kind of meadows here. The dewy meadows would be meadows that are wet with morning dew. Let's go ahead and we'll write that in. So take your pencil. For dewy, you're going to write wet with morning dew. You might have to write small, or you might have to do a double writing. So you might go like this. Wet with morning dew. You might want to do it that way. If you can fit it the other way, that's fine. Wet with morning dew. If at any point I move ahead and you're not ready, it's all right. You can pause the video, and that way you can finish writing it, and then you can come back and hear the next one. All right, the next word is furrows. Let's look in our books to see what that says. They dribbled the carrot seeds into furrows. Well, dribbled, I think of basketball, or I think of water going just a little bit at a time. If you dribble your water, maybe it's running down your chin. They dribbled the carrot seeds in the furrows. So dribbled would kind of imply just putting a few at a time. Furrows. Furrows. Where would you put those carrot seeds? Would you just put them on hard ground No, you wouldn't, because they wouldn't go very well, right? When you planted your seeds, if you've done that for the project we've done, you have to make sure that soil is really good and just has it to make it grow the best. You have to make sure it's good and overturned and such. So furrows here mean plowed rows. So they've taken them and they've gotten it ready. So the furrows in our story are plowed rows. They've plowed them up and they've got them ready to go. Plowed rows. All right, the next one. All the soil must be made mellow and fine and smooth. Mellow. There is a kind of soda pop called Mellow Yellow. Kind of, just if you're mellow, you're nice and calm. Well, in this case, the soil making it mellow meant that it had to be moist and rich in nutrients. Nutrients are the things that give the plants the things they need to grow well. The nutrients, there are nutrients in the soil. So we're going to make mellow, say rich in nutrients. They want to make sure that they have enough moisture in them. Enough moisture in them so that they're going to grow well. They're going to give the plants what they need to grow. Number 4, hustle along there, son. I think of basketball. The coach might say, hey, hustle up. In another word, that means hurry. To hurry up, to hustle up. It says here, hustle along there, son. So I'm guessing that a grown-up is telling a boy this. I wonder if Almanzo's father is the one who's going to be saying that. And then number 5, Almanzo went up and down the long field, straddling the little furrows. When you straddle something, I think of riding on a horse. You have to straddle on the saddle, right? You have to sit on it. So it means you put one foot on each side of something. So if you're straddling the furrows or the rows, that means that Almanzo was putting one foot on each side. He was probably being very careful not to step on the seeds that have already been planted and being careful where he stepped. So if he is straddling the furrows, he's walking with one foot on either side. Let's write that whole thing. You've got plenty of room. Walking with one foot on either side. Walking with one foot on either side. There we go. Walking with one foot on either side. All right, once you have these copied, we need to talk about what we're going to do next. You need to read chapter 11, but there are several ways you can do it that are fine with me. If mom or whoever's helping you says to just read it, great, go ahead and do that. If they say, let's read it together, great, go ahead and do that. If instead your mom or whoever's helping you says, hey, let's look it up on the internet, and you follow along with someone reading it to you, that's fine. I checked and there are a couple different open videos of this chapter of Farmer Boy that you can just click on and listen to. If you have Audible, the book club that will read it to you like we do in class, that's fine. If somebody wants to download that book for you so you can listen to chapter 11, then you'll hear just how we've been listening to it in class. In some way, though, you need to go ahead and read chapter 11. Chapter 11 called Springtime in your book. And then when you're done, you can come back and we're going to talk about it. So right now, you're going to pause this video, and then I want you to go ahead, read chapter 11, look it up on the internet, on YouTube, look it up on Audible in some sort, and then after you've read it, come back to the video and we're going to discuss the rest of the workbook part. All right, I hope you got to read chapter 11. It was a good chapter, wasn't it? Let's just look in our books. Today, we're not going to write in the rest of the workbook page. We're just going to talk through the questions. So I need you to open your workbook again to page 30. Remember, you're not going to write it in today. We're just going to talk through it together. So let's look at number 1 on page 30 under the comprehension questions. It says, the experienced workhorses knew exactly what to do in the fields. Why would Almanzo have enjoyed driving them more if that weren't the case? So Almanzo didn't exactly enjoy it because they were experienced. Why do you think that he would have liked it better if they hadn't had all that experience? What do you think? Well, remember, Almanzo, he really likes doing the stuff himself, right? He really likes training he did with the colts, and he really wants to do that as well with the horses, but Father hasn't let him, has he? So Almanzo enjoys those responsibilities of training and directing the farm animals in the work. It makes him feel older and important. The mature horses, do they really need him to tell them what to do? No, they know how to do it on their own. So he felt like he wasn't as necessary, as important when he was working with those horses. All right, let's look at question 2. Why do the farmers have to hurry to plant their good seeds? The good seeds. Why would they have to hurry? Well, they have to get their good seeds started before the wild seeds take over. What do you think wild seeds are? They're weeds. The weeds would come and take over. So they had to hurry to get the other parts in. Good seeds have to be nurtured, directed, and cared for. Bad seeds grow easily and can take off in any wild direction. You ever had to weed the garden? Take out all those weeds? They grow so fast, don't they? The good seeds you have to take care of and water them and be careful with them. And so they have to hurry and get the good seeds planted before the weeds could take over. Question 3. What are the 3 fields of grain Father sows? Now remember this word here, sows, S-O-W-S. That's not a needle and thread sew. That would be S-E-W. This right here, sow, S-O-W, means planted. So what are the 3 fields of grain that Father planted, and what are they used for? Okay, so do you remember what one of them is? Remember 2? How about 3? Okay, let's go over them. He planted a field of wheat. Do you remember what he's going to make from the wheat? Hopefully you said white bread. Good. And then he planted a field of rye seed. Rye. Do you remember why? They planted it so that they could make what they called rye and injun bread. We had talked about that even before we had to go on our remote learning, didn't we? Rye and injun bread. And thirdly, remember the last field? Oats and peas. And what did they use that for? To feed the animals, to feed the livestock when wintertime came. So they would grow it, they would harvest it, and then they would save it so that they could feed the animals when there wasn't anything growing. All right, last question, number 4. Explain the connection between ash leaves, squirrel ears, and corn planting. That's kind of strange sounding, isn't it? Well, do you remember that? When the leaves of the ash tree are what size? The size of squirrel's ears. Then it's time to plant. What is he going to plant? He's going to plant the corn. Yes. So that is chapter 11, Springtime. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll tune in next time for chapter 12.